James, and I also transferred into San Francisco State and joined the debate team the same day, at the beginning of the 1988 fall semester as Ben and Chuck. And back then, nobody could tell them apart.
Still can.
And I was a novice. I'd never done it before, and Chuck was quite good. And after a couple of years, I was fortunate enough to debate with Chuck for a number of tournaments and the national tournament. And we got screwed the national tournament, just a bunch of bad rounds. But even then, we went 4-4 out of 8 rounds. And out of 400 debaters, Chuck was the 20th. They would award speaker points in each round to whoever's the better speaker and all that. And out of 400 debaters, Chuck was 21st. And that's even with a weak partner like me holding him down. And I felt so fortunate to debate with Chuck, not just because he was such a great debater, but because that meant every round that I was in, I got to watch him debate and not watching somebody else. And he was just unnatural. Even if he was losing, you had no idea. And that's just, leave aside the competition, the enjoyment of watching, it was amazing. So I went to grad school on the East Coast for 4 years, and I came back, and he was living above the garage, and I got a hold of him, went over there, he opened the door, and he gave me the biggest bear hug I'd ever gotten. I thought I was gonna die, catch my breath, oh my God. And then I knew he cared about me. And he started playing guitar. I didn't know that. I was like, wow, great stuff. And we talked about, just caught up. We hadn't been together in years. And I moved here and stayed here. And he'd leave and come back and stay at my place. And then he'd leave and come back and stay at my place. And I loved having him over. And just everything you've heard about how wonderful he is from everybody, just exponentially make it way more than you can ever imagine. And he would send me his songs that he was working on over the last few years. And I would tell him, give him honest criticism. Some of the stuff right off the bat, I'm like, this is amazing, this is great. Other stuff I was like, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. You gotta work on this stuff, this I don't like, this is blah, blah, blah. But I would be there for him. And he went to record one of his songs that it was for his mom for Mother's Day a few years ago, called like Iron Man. And he really wanted me to go with him to the studio in Berkeley with Horace to go record it. And I had this oral argument in the Court of Appeal. I'm a lawyer. It was really critical because it was my personal case. And I'm like, Chuck, if it doesn't conflict with that, I have to focus on that, but I'd love to go. The court continued that hearing, so I had plenty of time to go. I went with him, and Horace and I are sitting there real quiet because we don't want to interrupt. And Chuck's just really doing really well. He was really nervous about, he plays guitar and sings, and he nailed his guitar in 2 takes, he nailed his vocal in 2 takes, and Jim, the engineer's doing stuff, and I walked over to Chuck, because he said he wanted an orchestral version of his song. So I walked over and I whispered, don't you want some brass on this? Because there's no brass, it's all like flute and whatever. And he goes, yeah, do I want some brass? Jim, you got any brass? And Jim goes, I can do something. Puts his French horn on it. And Chuck goes, yeah, that's great. And then Chuck goes, I need something else at the end. And I said, how about some xylophone? He said, can you do xylophone? Oh yeah, no problem. He did xylophone. And then it worked out perfectly. And then just constantly after that. And I never got tired of it, although he really overplayed my contribution. He was like, I needed my big dogs there. Horace and Jim. My dogs were there. And he's like, James, you just had the brass and the xylophone. It was so important. And like, that was Chuck. If you were on his team, and he was sincere. Yeah. There was nothing insincere about how he felt about my little tiny contributions. And I was just so thrilled that I could be there and just contribute to him, and that he just loved it. And I was really hoping that I wanted to be his manager actually, get his stuff together and get it out there, and you know, things didn't work out too well, but I was able to be there with him at the end.
That's exactly
And that
what
was,